Salve, salve, Maestro here, and today we are back for another victory-free French campaign. Right now, we are one step away from triggering this journal entry about the natural borders of France. We only need to put the industrialists into government, but I won't do that right now because whenever I trigger this journal entry, this is not only gonna grant us some claims over the Prussians and the Belgians, but it will also decrease our infamy decay. And since our infamy is a little bit too high and this province will cost a lot, I will wait for the infamy to tick down to zero and then I will attack. In this meantime, I will wait for the construction queue to end so I can increase my army. I will save up some money because the mobilization expenses is very high. And also, I will be granting some allies here in order to fight the Prussians and maybe Great Britain. Since the beginning of the game, I always thought about allying with the US because they have a very strong development over the game and because most of the times they are not friendly towards the British. But right now in the early game, they're still very weak. They almost have the same army as the British, but not with the same technology, I'm sure. And they are far behind the other European powers like the Russians and the Austrians. So because of that, I'm gonna try to ally with Austria because first of all, Russia doesn't like me, so there's no way I can get them. Most of the times, Austria also have a greater economy than the Russian, although in terms of numbers, the Russian economy is greater, but in terms of quality and healthiness, the Austrians tends to be better. And finally, not only they have a bigger army, but probably with much better technology. So I will try to secure an alliance with the Austrians. And even though it says here that they don't like, since we have such high relations, they're gonna accept it. And from what I can tell, it's very important to secure this alliance early on because later in the game, they're probably gonna ally with the US or maybe Russia. And as promised in the last episode, I just researched postal savings because I was needing a little bit more of investment pool contribution because like I'm building all this stuff here in my country and I don't get the money of it. But as I said in the last episode, I would just finish researching the society technologies and I would start to move towards legal guardianship, not only because of the bonus of it, but mostly to increase the landowners and the Catholic Church approval, because then I can remove this minus 10% on a lot of tax income and this educational access. And just to clarify, what the hell does the legal guardianship has to do with the research of society? Well, basically, if I remove the rights of the woman here, the intelligentsia will be mad at me. And the problem is that I would lose this 10% society research speed, which I was using. So now I just can discard this because I won't be using anymore. The only problem that I just saw is that I'm gonna receive this minus 10% prestige, but it's fine. And we just received this event here that is about the springtime of people, which was not a unified movement, but a series of movements and political activism that happened in Europe. And right now we can support the conservatives or the radicals. I would be fine going with the radicals. The only problem is that this guy here, which is the industrialist leader, will change its ideology to radical. And the problem is that this is gonna decrease the industrialist approval. And I do not want to lose this IG trait. So I will need to go for the conservative in order to keep this approval high. And also because by the radical option, all the pops will become 5% more radical while the conservative, at least the upper strata, will be more loyalist. So the end result will be better to go conservative, at least this time. So now that our construction queue has ended, I will start to increase our army. And the reason I came back is because most of the times when building an army, I would just go for the state with the most peasant and build there. But the matter is that the French has a unique journal entry about the French Foreign Legion, which I think has a massive relation with the international army that France has even nowadays. Like they recruit some people that are not French but want to fight for the French or something like it. So it requires us to have 20 or more barracks in North of Africa region. So for that reason, I will be building our barracks and army in the states like Morocco or these northern states here. Now we are just about to take our infamy down to zero, and I'm finishing to build our army, but I will talk about this later. But we have a little problem here, which is the industrialist leader is now a market liberal and is no more a Bonapartist. So if we put the industrialists into power, we're not gonna trigger the natural borders of France. But do not worry if this also happens to you, because France has a unique interaction with the characters, which if we came here and interact with the character, we have this option here about to sway to Bonapartes. So probably this is linked to the leader. So if our leader was a legitimist instead of Bonapartes, we would have the option to sway it for the legitimist. But now we only need to put the industrialist into government and sway the leader for him to be a Bonapartist. The only problem is that we are gonna get a little bit of disapproval from the opposition interest groups, but this is okay in order to trigger the event. The main problem right now, and another thing for you to avoid in your French campaign, is do not try to complete this journal entry here with your main army, because I'm facing a problem right now, which is I don't have people to fill up these barracks and as such create an actual army, because they do not have the qualifications for it. And the fact that the Moroccan states are unincorporated only make this worse, because then our institution of education won't affect them. So I will try to put some decrees here about promote social mobility in order to increase the qualifications in these three states, but probably I will also build some more armies to fill up these empty spaces. Although this is not a major problem because we are allied to Austria, so if we merge our armies, there is no way the Prussians can deal with us when we try to control these states here. Now, I just waited the infamy to actually go down to zero. It was not that necessary, but I just wanted to build some more barracks and see if I could increase the employment here over the barracks, which I was not successful whatsoever. But without further ado, let's do these political changes here. So we're gonna put the industrialists into power. We're gonna get some radicals, but that's okay. And let's move this guy to Bonapartism and just wait for the events to trigger. Exactly, the limit of the nation, the natural borders of France. Now we can get a claim over all of these estates. These guys are gonna get this event. I actually don't know what this means, like what this is gonna affect them. And here is the problem that I said about decreasing the infamy decay. So you're gonna need to deal with a high infamy for 20 years. And for our first war, I will go against Bavaria, because if I do so, probably only the Prussians will side with them. So this is gonna be a much easier war if, let's say, the Russians support it. And I just waited a little bit to declare this war because I needed to decrease the relations with Bavaria, which were cordial, and also do that with Belgium, because since the beginning of the game, you have a support independence over Belgium, if I'm not mistaken. So your relations are always very high, and you need to decrease it to declare war. And if you want to make this war even easier, you can sway the Belgians, so you can grant them any war goals, like they want now investment rights, and they will side with you. But you can save it when you declare war over the Netherlands, if you prefer to do so before declaring over the Belgium, and then use their army to make a easier war against the Netherlands, and most of the time, like Russia side with them, Great Britain. Let's actually check here. They got a defensive pact with the Sweden, so I'm gonna need to deal with the Sweden too. So I will save it because the difference of numbers is just too high. And I just hope that the technology superiority of the Persians over the Austrians is not that big, because if it's so, then they will be able to piece out Austria and then go against me. For the war strategy, I just moved these two nations over these sea nodes so I can fully blockade the Persians. And also I moved most of my units for this border in order to defend it. But the most important part of this strategy was the placement of these troops here over the Rhine HQ. Because what happens is that you have a little HQ here over the Alsace-Lorraine state, which is only 1 day away from this front here of the Alsace-Lorraine. So what I did was I mobilized this army, but set them to stay at the Rhine HQ. So basically, the Prussians moved all of their armies to this main front against the Austrians and only left 10 battalions here. So immediately when the war began, I moved these armies to the front, which had the advantage of 80, if I'm not mistaken. And this advantage here of 22 is just because they are only moving this 40 battalion troop right now. So we're gonna get a huge advantage to occupy the most states as possible. Something interesting here is that even though I am blockading the Prussian market, the Prussians are not suffering it. Because you can see that the world market access is 100%, but the blockade level is 100% too. So how can this happen? Well, basically, the market capital, like the world market, the hub of the Prussian market, at least from Prussia perspective, is over Lubeck. And since I'm not at war against Lubeck, I can't blockade them from trading with the world. So this navy here are only affecting the levels of migration, shipping lanes, and throughput of fishing wharves, ports, and shipyards. And now we have our first victory in Europe since Bavaria capitulated, and now we got Hainan from them. So we can already start to incorporate it. And finally, I just need to take this state here for this force-port takedown. And of course, the war is over with France in the victorious side. Like Prussia is nothing compared to what France can do. Of course, you can disconsider what Austria did, like it was a minor help from them. You can clearly see that they got much more dead people than us because our army is much more superior to them. And I was with this journal entry about the designer clothes, which is the prestige build from the Dulfus Mig et Compagnie, and all I needed was to conquer these states so I can grab more textile mills, and now I can say I am a top 3 producers of clothing, although the margin is very small, so I'll need to take a look at it later. Since the war with the Prussians took too long, it was enough time for the infamy to tick down to a minus 25 level, so I will try to enjoy this low infamy status. And right after we kicked the Prussian ass, now they're having a little bit of a civil war. And I will be honest, I spent a little time thinking about it because the Prussian were willing to give me an obligation in exchange for me to siding with them. And why this is important is because, as you saw here, Russia is at the side of the Prussians. So if we were in the same side, the Russians wouldn't be able to declare war or side wars against me. And this is important because I have a little gap from the infamy cap of 25. So I will be attacking Luxembourg for return states, and Russia probably will side with them. So if I was in this war, the Russians wouldn't be able to side. But this wouldn't be the right choice to do because later I'm gonna also need to invade Belgium. And the problem with that is that not only the Russians want to side with the Belgians, but the British will also do it. And by the time I declare war over the Belgians, this war probably will be finished. So if I continue on and declare war over the Luxembourg, both the Russians and the United States will side with them and then we will get a truce. So when I attack the Belgians, which is going to involve the Great Britain, nor the Russians, Prussians, or the Americans will be able to side with them. So I will only need to deal with Great Britain, which is awesome. So for that reason, I'm going to declare war over Luxembourg to take it from Netherlands. Now, this is awesome because I was looking here to sway some countries and the Belgians wanted to side with me. And guess what? They wanted to support me in this war. They want to revoke the claims of the Netherlands over the province that I'm going to take it later. So I'm going to be taking two things that I want for the same price. And I'm probably going to remove the Wallonia claim because it's the company province and call the Belgians for my side. And not only that, the Austrians are my ally, so I will do the same. And on top of these demands, I'm gonna also be liberating the Dutch East Indies and going to revoke the other claim that the Netherlands have over the Belgian province, which is Flanders, if I'm not mistaken. And we are ready to the war. And a ton of things are happening right now in terms of war because the states here, the Hindustan states, declared independence, at least a revolution against the East India Company. So maybe we're gonna see both Indonesia and India free from the European powers, at least for a little bit of time before I came here and conquer them all. And the war was, of course, very simple. We only needed to control the Holland province, which is the capital state. I only need for the Swedish to get out of here. I could grant them investment rights, but it's only a matter of time before Netherlands capitulates, so I will just wait. Man, how are the Americans invading me through Spain? Because they don't get a treaty with them. Like, who the fuck is granting them military access? And war is over, so only the Belgians are left for us to conquer here on northern province. But still, we have some little guys here that we need to take some provinces from. And as I said, the Indonesian countries have already exploded, but it seems that our luck towards India is not the same. So probably the British will just establish their control here again and again. So I've just researched a civilizing mission, and since I didn't talk about colonization from a long time, I will just update you. So I'm doing the same strat as I was doing before. Basically, the British took over all these provinces here, so I will need to invade Gaza in order to colonize the east area of Africa. But in the other side, I'm trying to control this west coast here, at least in this north area, so I can take these countries. And I'm just not caring about Ehero or Nama. While in the north here, I'm again doing the same thing. So I'm not colonizing this inner Mauritania in order to spread more colonization points to the other colonies, because the most important points right now are this coast of Equatorial Guinea and this choke point here of Mosi, because the British are almost taking it, so we need to block it before they can come to Air or Ada. And just to point out the mistake that I've done is that I was waiting this journal entry to come so I can establish some colonial administrations, but you can see here that I only can establish on the Congo region, Niger, Senegal, and Zanj. So I thought that I could establish here over the North Africa area. So that's why I have not been integrating these states of Morocco and also here on North Africa. Of course, I could establish the Senegal, if I'm not mistaken, and grant them these states, but this general entry here requires these states of Mascara, Ativas, and Constantine to be incorporated. So I will need to incorporate this one way or the other. And also, since I'm already here, I never established a colonial administration while I'm still colonizing it, at least most of the cases, because if I do so, I won't be able to colonize any further. So let's say I establish this colony in Senegal. This area here of French Timbuktu will be granted to this state. And this state, since they have much lower population than I have, they will produce much less points of colonization. So I prefer to first take up this choke point here as an example, and then establish the colonial administration, because therefore the speed of colonization won't be a problem for me. And I was just waiting for the Ottoman Empire to declare war over the Egyptians so they would call the British. And then when I started a war against the Belgians, the British would need to split their armies. But this just didn't happen, and my infamy is already at zero. So let's take Belgium. And even the Prussians want to side with us, but they want one of the states that we took from them. So of course, I'm not gonna give them back. Now, one of the things I was most worried about just happened. Yeah, the North German Federation formed, which is kind of crazy because they didn't have a war over German leadership against Austria-Hungary. And like one of the reasons I made an alliance with them is to avoid them to form. So we need to be careful about it. And one of the good part of this war is because they got no progress over colonizing this region here because it's controlled by us. So very nice for us. Now we can secure this border with Socorro, Messina, whatever. And war is over. I just made this little clip about the colonization, but then I check it and the Belgians had minus 80 support. And just as I said, I was waiting the Ottoman Empire to declare war over the Egyptians. And right after my war ended, they did it. So probably the British are here. Yeah, so the British are supporting them right now, so I couldn't enjoy this split of the British army. Although I did that little strategy about mobilizing my army and putting them near the front so the AI wouldn't put all of their army defending there, and then I would enjoy some 2 to 4 battles without the whole army of the AI. And I just wanted to check how was Belgium doing because they only got this region here and basically all of their population is starving because of course they were very reliant on the international market. So like they only got one livestock ranch and one rice farm for almost 200K of population. So even though I took like 90% of their country, I won't be the bad guy. I will grant them some transit rights so they can import the grains because otherwise I'm only gonna create like a Gaza Strip here in the middle of Europe. And I just hope that after this little joke, the Israeli intelligence doesn't come after me. Although most of the times when they go after somebody, they end up hitting a children's hospital or something. So I think I'm good. And we not only invaded Belgium because it is one of the goals of a French campaign, but also because they got one of the best companies here in the Walloon state. And since the beginning of the game, I was thinking about like establishing this mineral conglomerate only to then disband it so I can have a slot to put on this company. But I was just one technology away from unlocking a new company, so I just waited to research it and now we can establish it, which is the Société Anonyme John Cockerill, which probably is the best company in the game. They not only produce precision tools, but they got 4 of the best industries in the game. So let's establish it. I was cooked by the game because, as I said, I wanted to establish this company, but I just can't. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if I did something wrong. Like, for sure, I know this is a bug, but this is kind of strange the way that the game works. So basically, if I come here at the Vallonian state, there will be this company headquarter that used to be from the John Cockerill company. Now, what happened is that this company is kind of on a limbo state. Basically, it doesn't exist, but it also exists because if I go here to the global list of companies, it still is here, the Société Anonyme John Cockerill. But if I go to the company, it doesn't have any assets besides the regional HQ in Navarra, Bahia, Visayas. So basically, it's a company that doesn't exist because its company HQ it's in a new state, but it's still existing. I don't know if it's because of the regional HQs or because it's how the game works, but it doesn't have a company HQ over Belgium. It doesn't have a home HQ in anywhere. And I tried some stuff to see how this bug goes. So I tried to conquer Belgium so it no longer exists. And even then, I couldn't establish the company. I tried to disband the company by switching to Belgium and still I couldn't establish it. So I'm gonna check the save log or something and see if I can solve it. So I think I tried everything that I could in order to solve it. Like I even went to forums to check if this happened to other people, and I even tried to check the save files, but it seems that they created a special file format only for the saves. So I can't hard fix it. So in the end is of course sad because my company's strategy was based on to establishing this company and we didn't enjoy this metalworks company. But still, since we already have the slot, let's establish it and maybe later some special French industry like the Société Franque Belge or I don't know, I'll check. Now, if you think this company is extremely necessary, the only way I thought that maybe could solve it is basically you declare war against the Belgians. So let's add our stuff here. Then you're gonna need to switch to the Belgians, which of course I don't recommend because this will disable achievement and also the history graphics stay bugged. But as Belgium, you need to come here, disbandle the company. In this case, you would actually switch back to France so the AI doesn't mess with your country. But I'm just showcasing here. So as soon as the war starts, like at least the diplomatic play, let's give in. And now we can switch back to France. If I'm not mistaken, I need to incorporate the state, right? Yeah. In 10 months, I will come back. So 10 months have passed. Now Valon is an incorporate state. So we can safely come here at the companies. I'm going to disband this. And if everything went right, we can establish the company. Of course. So now it fully can work, but still you need to switch to the Belgians and do all that stuff that I said. And one of the worst thing about it is because it resets your chart history. For some reason, the population and the literacy still holds on since the beginning of the game. But the SOL, it resets and the GDP also resets. Now, I will shift my focus away from Europe, at least by now, because I still need to make a war against Sardine Piedmont, because the British are colonizing the very, very fast east of Africa. So I need to own the Gaza region in order to try to see if I can colonize a little bit here and establish a colonial administration later on. Okay, so the Germans are back. This is probably the biggest threat in the whole Europe, which is Germany forming. And right now they already got the second biggest army in the game. Like, of course, we disconsider Qing because they have trash technology, so it's the biggest army in the game. But now they will need to face me, the Bavarians, Hanover, Austria-Hungary, Denmark, everybody to unify the German nation, and they are actually going to super Germany. So let's see, at least if we win this, we'll cut them down to size. So basically, it's a all win or all lose situation. We either win everything or lose everything right now. Just look at the amount of money we are losing. I can't believe it. And Berlin is at our foot. We managed to take control over their capital, which proves that Bonaparte and Napoleon isn't just my name. Yeah, that's your pathetic economy, mate. That's what happened when you mess with France. Thank you, Germany, for doing nothing, for just holding me up and giving time for the British to come back, because I was waiting to say that. Like, I was waiting my GDP to be the double of the British to say, oh, look, my GDP is double then. But now you made me say for everybody, thank you for doing nothing. Now you're this pathetic and less effective Russia. It's crazy to see that my army costs more than 200k. Like, this is massive. Like, of course, it's the biggest army in the game, but still, it's crazy. They are not even top 10 nowadays. Like, I think that they have an even lower GDP than in the beginning of the game. And as our last step towards the natural borders of France, we only need to take the province from Sardine Piedmont. And I know that there is an event or decision to take it, but one of these decisions, I rely on the AI to do it. I can do the Treaty of Turin in order to get Savoy, so this province here, and it's very easy. But the problem is that I need all the French homeland states. And why this is a problem? Because this little strip here is a French homeland, and I depend on Savoy to make a decision which grants me, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll basically just do a war to take both of these states. The only problem is that maybe, not maybe, probably Russia will side. So it's nothing too major if I manage to take control of Sardine Piedmont before they come here. And we got Cold War even before World War One, because I swayed the Americans with only a regime change, and they swayed the Russians with enforced investment rights over Mascara. But our army size is double theirs, and probably the Russians will only put troops here in the frontier with Austria, so I can just march through Sardine Piedmont. And also, I would love to get this island here, which is Sardine, of course, but the cost of it is huge, is insane. It's 22.2 infamy. Like, I feel that this should be a claim of French from this journal entry here, the natural borders of France, because I feel like it's a natural border. And since I'm already talking about it, it's kind of disappointing. Like, it's cool to have such claims in such important areas, but I feel like this should be expanded. So maybe the Catalonia from Spain, marching over the Netherlands, going deeper into the German areas would be more fun, Paradox. Like, you could do it. I don't care about it. Just do it, man. So basically, there is no more forest in France because I maxed out all the logging camps here in the main continent area. And France is marching through Rome again. Like, it's just about the time for me to get my coronation because, damn boy, you need to solve this baldness. Like, look at this hair. And finally, our borders with Italy are fixed. I just think I need to incorporate this state. No, it's already incorporate. Nice. So this should trigger. Okay, I need to be at peace. And finally, the natural borders of France is completed. So let's check. I can get assimilation, which is awesome. Interest group power to the armed forces, like, kind of okay. I don't care about it. Or I can turn them into primary culture. Okay. Like, this is good because they are gonna be less radicals, but I will go for assimilation. Like, as a old EU4 player, everyone loves to go for a one culture, one flavor run. And now that we do not need to worry anymore a lot about infamy, I will lose no time and start to annex our subjects here in North Africa, then go to Indonesia. Yeah, I didn't forget about it. Maybe Southeast Asia, some people here in Africa. But all of that, I will leave for the next episode. I hope you liked the video. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.